I was programmed by the Western media to have certain lies programmed into my head. So for example, we were on the hill yesterday in Hebron, and I asked, where are the tents? No, seriously. I said, where are all the refugee camps? I've been told my entire life that this city is a refugee city. And everyone laughs. There's malls, there's shopping centers, it's 97% Arab. And it was so eye-opening to actually see it firsthand, because I went in thinking it was going to be an actual refugee camp.
Today in the United States, remember I'm broadcasting from Israel, and this is a show about Israel, but in the United States, they are doing a big memorial for Charlie Kirk, who was murdered. And we continue to talk about Israel. Let's let Charlie Kirk talk about Israel. I found a video from 2019. Now it's the year that I got a chance to tour him in Hebron. And that's where I took some of those pictures that have gone so viral. There is a video of him talking to a Jewish group. The organization is Im Tirtzu that toured him around. Let's just do a little Charlie Kirk's own voice, not anybody else's voice, not Candace Owens, not even Ben Shapiro. Let's listen to Charlie Kirk's voice as he talked about his time in Israel and Jerusalem and what he really thought about it. Let's do it.
Thank you, Matan. First of all, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I just want to first say thank you to the wonderful organization, Im Tirtzu. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. I'm going to do that all evening, so I apologize for my horrible American English accent. I was very pro-Israel before this trip, but I'm just on fire to continue to advocate for this moral and godly country, seriously. And I'll kind of walk you through the last 48 hours. It was a real eye-opening experience for me. You know, we're going to Hebron yesterday, and I asked Matan, it's safe, right? Of course it's safe. Oh, great, it's okay. So I shouldn't wear this around the streets there. But the Western media has become so good at lying about this country. And again, I'm very, very pro-Israel. I'm an evangelical Christian. I'm a conservative. I'm a Trump supporter. I'm a Republican. All the good things. For my whole life, I have defended Israel. But even with that, I was programmed by the Western media to have certain lies programmed into my head. So for example, we were on the hill yesterday in Hebron, and I asked, where are the tents? No, seriously. I said, where are all the refugee camps? I've been told my entire life that this city is a refugee city. And everyone laughs. There's malls, there's shopping centers, it's 97% Arab. And it was so eye-opening to actually see it firsthand, because I went in thinking it was going to be an actual refugee camp. And someone made a very good point, which is, how can you be refugees for 70 years? By definition, you're not a refugee after 2 generations. You're not fleeing anything. So anyway, that's besides the point. And it was amazing to me how, and I knew this, but it was reaffirmation how difficult the IDF has it. And I've never encountered people with such self-restraint. I mean, we had these horrible people from Breaking the Silence, is that what they're called? That get right up in the faces of the IDF soldiers. And these IDF, they're doing God's work. I really believe that. And they have such unbelievable self-restraint. And they have these maniacs with these cameras right in their face, trying to provoke them, trying to profile them. And I think to myself, if they only knew the self-restraint, if they only knew the moral conduct that the IDF operates with every day versus the terrorists of Hamas and Hezbollah. I mean, and anyone who dares make a moral equivalency between the conduct and the behavior of the IDF and Israel, which is a moral superiority. What the Western media tries to do is they try to make it some sort of equal playing field in the conversation. That Hamas and the IDF, they're somehow both on the same playing field. No, no, no. The IDF is righteously and correctly defending the nation state of Israel, God's chosen people in the Holy Land. And the self-restraint that they go through is unbelievable. And I saw it firsthand that these maniacs were going up. That's really what they are. I mean, they have nothing better to do. They remind me of some of the protesters I deal with on college campuses in the States. We'll talk about it because there's a similarity there. And there's a kind of a warning that I want to give you because I see what's happening here. And these are just 18, 19, and 20-year-old total, we have a word for it in the States, and I don't know if it applies here, probably does. We call them patriots. They love their country. They believe in the value system. They enlisted, obviously, through mandatory service. And what's the thanks they get? They get cameras right in their face trying to expose them because they're fighting for what is correct and what is right. So that was an eye-opening experience. And then today, we had an amazing opportunity. We flew in a helicopter all the way up to the Golan Heights, which, I mean, I'm going to, for the rest of my life, and hopefully in this presidential term, advocate for the international community to recognize the Golan Heights as a true part of Israel. Because
just to remind you that this was filmed in 2019. Since then, America did recognize Israel's rights to the Golan Heights.
It is unbelievable to me that people, and this is very important to remember that, Syria will never be okay with getting that territory taken away to them, especially to Israel. And it's going to take unequivocal strength and relentlessness on behalf of Israel to make sure that that does not fall back into the hands of Syria or Hezbollah or whatever organization takes that over. And, I learned today, a 2,000-year-old, synagogue remains were found there in the Golan Heights region. And, something that I'm going to use really in my advocacy in the States and the media that I do is, how could anyone be occupying their own land? Can anyone explain that to me? Because the Jews have been living in this land for thousands and thousands of years. And again, I always knew this, I always believed this, but this amazing organization and Matan and your entire team did an unbelievable job of showing that to me. It really did. And so I saw it firsthand in the Golan Heights, and I couldn't believe it. I said, what do you mean? This is not Israel. Well, they said it's Israel. It's not Israel. It's very complicated. You know how the explanation goes. Whereas, what do the Arabs say? No, it's ours. It's like very direct, where the Israelis, back and forth. It's sort of ours. It's sort of not. No, it's yours, 100%. And then we flew down and we saw the barrier to the Gaza Strip, which was very eye-opening to me as well. And one of the biggest mistakes that Israel...
I just can't help but smiling. I just can't help but smiling because he just gets it, And it's such a pleasure to hear a man that took a tour and just gets it. He just gets it. And I love to see this man thinking and talking, and analyzing and getting it right. It's beautiful.
Israel has made is getting out of the Gaza Strip.
What was that? Let's go back again. Sorry.
I always believed this, but this amazing organization and Matan and your entire team did an unbelievable job of showing that to me. It really did. And so I saw it firsthand in the Golan Heights, and I couldn't believe it. I said, what do you mean? This is not Israel. Well, they said it's Israel. It's not Israel. It's very complicated. You know how the explanation goes. Whereas, what do the Arabs say? No, it's ours. It's like very direct, where the Israelis, back and forth. It's sort of ours. It's sort of not. No, it's yours, 100%. And then we flew down and we saw the barrier to the Gaza Strip, which was very eye-opening to me as well. And one of the biggest mistakes that Israel has made is getting out of the Gaza Strip.
That was Charlie Kirk, 2019, telling Israel the biggest mistake that you made is leaving the Gaza Strip. In other words, there might be an October 7th coming. He saw that in 2019. Do you see the clarity of thinking and understanding? And he was absolutely right, of course.
And seeing what has happened, it's become a terrorist jacuzzi, essentially, is what it has become. It has become a terrorist jacuzzi where they are now closer than ever to fire rockets into Tel Aviv, which you see recently they're willing to do. They build terror tunnels instead of schools and hospitals. And I asked the numbers. I mean, Gaza is a small place, and they're getting billions of dollars a year. And where does that billions go? It doesn't go for schools. It doesn't go for hospitals. But it goes to build terror tunnels. It goes for missiles. It goes for rockets. And we'll get into a second of exactly who's funding this, who's behind it. We all know that. I would like to hope one day that Egypt could clean up that problem. We'll see. I'm not exactly sure they want that problem, to be perfectly honest. But it was a big mistake, and there were thousands of Jews that were living there. And here's the thing, is that the narrative war is being lost in the United States, my friends, just so you know, because I had never heard the argument that Jews were pushed out of their own houses in Gaza. You know, we always hear that refugees. That's 5,000 Jewish refugees out of Gaza, right? 10,000, I stand corrected. 10,000 out of Gaza. That's unbelievable. They had identity in the region, identity in their homes, and they were pushed out of there. So that, again, that was just really amazing to me. And then flying, where it all kind of came together was when I was asking, you know, our wonderful helicopter pilot, who is a hero from the first Lebanon war, amazing guy, and he was walking me through all the different zones. And I said, when will it be enough for the Arabs? Like, when will it be enough? And he said it very simply, so when all the Jews are dead. And it hit me. It said, if you do a thought exercise, a hypothetical, which is if the IDF took 10 days off, what would happen? Israel would be gone, and the Jews would be, you know, become persecuted again. If all the Arab nations took 10 days off, no armaments, everything would remain the same. Everything. Which side is moral and which side is immoral? If Israel dared lay down their arms, this country would be under unbelievable barrage of missiles and armament. And yet, if the Arabs did, you guys, we have our land, let us keep our land, and we want peace. Only one side wants peace in this conflict. And I've heard that before. It's not like I'd never heard it, but it's very, very obvious now. And it's too bad, because I actually believe that some of the Arabs living in Gaza want some form of peace. I don't think they want Hamas anymore. I think that there's more discomfort underneath there than ever before. I think that Abbas's time is coming to an end, and thank God that President Trump is finally putting a lot of that funding in jeopardy from the West, which is phenomenal. And you know, I'm a huge fan of economics, and when you pay for something, you usually get more of it. And I didn't know up until a couple months ago that my very good friend Sander Gerber from the United States, who is advocating for the end for the pay-for-slay legislation, which essentially was money that the Palestinian Authority would give the families of terrorists that kill Jews. So when you pay for something, you get more of something. So if you're a poor family in the West Bank and you know, you see your wife struggling and your kids, like, oh, you know, I'll go kill a couple Jews. They get whatever reward they think they're going to get in the afterlife. But also, your family gets a short-term monetary award. In fact, I think it lives in perpetuity for other generations. I could be mistaken there. And thank goodness that's finally being put into question. It's so unbelievable to me, what's happening in the States, and I'll walk through it kind of. There's some positives. Finally, there's a president who moved the embassy to Jerusalem, which was long, long overdue. So we thank the president for doing that. Canceled the Iran deal, which would have, honestly, you want to talk about, this is so, the worst part of the entire Iran deal was the sanction relief, because that would have given them the cash. If you think Hamas has money now, wait till the sanctions are lifted on Iran, and that money just starts flowing to these terrorist organizations. Right now, Iran is really being squeezed, and they have to kind of say, well, maybe we don't have as much money to send armaments over there, to send cash, you know, to these terrorists. And the president canceling the Iran deal, and it was totally courageous. It was in total defiance of the entire international community. And you start to see a commonality here, that when Europe is becoming increasingly anti-Semitic, you saw a recent parade in Brussels with horrible anti-Semitic imagery. You see in the United Kingdom, which I have some wonderful friends here from the UK, you have the head of the Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn, who I call Jew-hating Jeremy, who is he's a horrible person. And on Holocaust Remembrance Day, he lays a wreath at the feet of the Munich, the individual who killed, the Munich terrorist who killed the Israeli wrestling team. That's who he lays a wreath for on Holocaust Remembrance Day. This guy believes Hamas is a democratically elected government. He thinks sanctions should be lifted. This is who's leading the Labour government, the Labour Party in the United Kingdom. And then unfortunately, you know, my own beloved country, America, and I'm actually in my second favorite country right now. But my favorite country, of course, being the United States, I'm so disgusted by the rise, and this is very important for everyone in this room to realize, and it's not being exaggerated by the media. There is real institutional anti-Semitism rising within the Democrat Party. Not just rising, it seems to really being revealed. And the president is doing the right thing by highlighting this. You have Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who at the very best, she's a serious problem. And she has said some very questionable things, if at best. That's probably giving her more credit, is saying questionable. And she goes completely unchecked by the Democrat Party. And you have my fellow 20-something, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who we can get into her in a little bit, by the way. That would be far too much fun. Who says, in the brilliant stroke of historical and geographic genius, that somehow Palestine is occupying Israel. And then a reporter says, what do you mean by that? Oh, you know, like it's kind of they're on top of each other. That was really convoluted. But it's really sad because it seems as if, you know, the Jews are such beautiful people. They really are. And as an evangelical Christian, I have such respect for the tradition, for the culture, for the family values, for the reverence of the Jewish people. And the more time I spend around, you know, Jews, really they want a place to be able to worship, access to the holy sites, and the ability to live their life. And it seems as if the entire international community wants to put that into jeopardy. And what I find so promising about Israel is the willingness to fight for what you hold dear. And that is a moral and righteous fight, make no mistake. To fight for your history, to fight for your land. And you are on the right side of history when you do that, make no mistake. So,
all right, my friends, I want to say that today, Charlie Kirk is being eulogized, memorialized in a giant stadium in Arizona. Humongous turnout, massive turnout. My good friend Jake tells me that his wife was in some parents group of some school that Charlie's kids went to, and she was struck by how concerned he was to be involved in the chat group about how to raise the children. And so you just got to see a video. You just got a chance to see a video of what he really believed, what he really said. And everybody, I let you hear him for yourself. And there's a lot more. Everybody's trying to take him and twist his words and say he believed this, he believed that. You heard it for yourself. You heard it for yourself. This is a man who recognizes what jihadism is, what Palestinianism is, the dangers of it on campus, the dangers of it on the left. He recognizes Jerusalem and the light of Jerusalem, and that he wants to be part of that. He recognizes that. He recognizes Jewish rights, historical rights in Judea and Samaria. He recognizes the importance of the Bible. And so I want to thank Hashem that I was able to find this video. And there's more of it. There's much more, actually. And maybe I'll take time to do it. In the meantime, that little bit was our memorial here from Israel for Charlie Kirk, in his own words. In his own words. And that's the thing about Charlie Kirk. He had his own words. And you could just see it for yourself. And his stand with Israel was moral. It was just. It was historical. It was biblical. And we salute him today. A warrior for truth in a very tough war, who died for that truth, and died for speaking truth. And I remember him along. I have a picture in my room here of Ari Fuld, a man who broadcast the truth a lot and was also killed by terrorism. And I would like to see a picture of them together. It just came to me right now that I'd like to see them together. Somebody writes right now, rest in peace, Charlie. Yes, rest in peace, Charlie. Your fight goes on. We respect your fight. We respect your memory. We respect your words. And we know you went down for the cause. It was obvious to everybody that you went down. And, by the way, his death was on the one hand gruesome, on the other hand, not. No, he left this world immediately, it seemed to me, as though God took him as perfectly as possible. I know that sounds a little weird, but my point is that somehow he was unblemished. It's kind of taken away from this world without a lot of pain, just taken immediately. And that's it. Today we honor him, and we wish his memory that it continue to give us, to inspire us, and his neshama, his soul, should have a share in the world to come.